Hello, and welcome back to the Irish Tennis Updates podcast. My name is Adam, your host. This week I've been chatting to Conor Niland, and we are looking ahead to the upcoming tie, Ireland versus Austria, taking place in Limerick on the 3rd and 4th of February. This promises to be a really exciting tie. We chat about the players involved, we chat about the recent matches that Ireland have played, many of them wins that have got us to this stage in the Davis Cup competition. It promises to be a great weekend of tennis. The tickets have sold out really quickly, and there were extra tickets released, which have also sold out very quickly. So there's a huge amount of demand in the Irish tennis public for some live tennis like this, and it's been a very long time, as we know, since we've had this opportunity. I'm sure we're all looking forward to the tie, and will be even more so after hearing Conor talking about it. So enjoy this episode, and hopefully you've got your tickets and you can enjoy the tennis in a few weeks' time. Here we go. Here's Conor. All right, Conor. So thanks very much for coming on for a chat, all things Davis Cup. How are things with you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, all good, all good. I guess first things first. The main reason we're here is obviously the upcoming tie against Austria in February. It's taking place in Ireland, which is the exciting part. Our first home tie in I think since 2015. I guess firstly, what was your reaction when you saw the draw back in, I think, September time it was, when you saw what was coming up?
Yeah, definitely. I was more focused on whether it was going to be home or away than who it was against, to be honest. It had been quite a run of away ties. And obviously when we were in Group 3, etc., for a couple of years, it was a group format, and that was generally away. But then we obviously had a run of teams and countries in very far-flung places like Peru and El Salvador and Barbados, and we were even drawn away against China a few years ago, which we got a walkover from. But it's been too long, really. So delighted to get it at home. And then I suppose a country like Austria, I suppose it's a reflection of where we're sitting in the world at the moment. And again, Peru was a really tough tie, some really good players there, and Austria is no different. They're knocking on the door of the best countries in the world, really, when you look at their lineup. So it's where we want to be. It's a big challenge, but very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess just first on that kind of home tie element, I guess it's quite obvious why that's a big bonus, but I guess speaking, you've experienced obviously playing for several years, so maybe could you kind of sum up what really that does add to the tie for the Irish team coming up?
So it's much for the Irish tennis public as for us as a team and the players to have a showcase event and a spectacle and something just to go to for the Irish tennis fan and for juniors. We don't have anywhere near enough opportunities for juniors to watch our best players and for people who are interested in tennis to watch world-class tennis in Ireland. And this genuinely brings that with the Austrian team. So it's great. And obviously from a player's perspective, like we love Davis Cup. We love the week as a group, and we get really excited when there's nobody cheering for us, like in El Salvador and all these other places. But the prospect of having, give or take, 2,000 people here, pretty much all of them rooting for us, is very special. It obviously brings a different dynamic that we need to be ready for as well. But hugely positive, as I say, for the lads, but also for the Irish tennis public who have gone and bought tickets and they've been snapped up really quick, which is brilliant to see. So there's definitely an appetite there. So hopefully we can get really, really loud when we get down to Limerick in a few weeks.
That's the plan. But absolutely. I mean, you say about the tickets, it was amazing to see how quick they sold out. I definitely was kind of taken by surprise how quick they were, which is amazing to see. Like I definitely have memories of back some of those home ties like 2011, 2012 of being there, and have strong memories of that. So I think it's just a fantastic thing for any, juniors playing, adults, like any age, just would be a great weekend, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think again, we knew there was going to be probably some pent up demand, and it's always difficult to know how much to push it in terms of the capacity and the seating kind of on offer. But it seems like certainly from where we're sitting today that we've gotten that right, and Tennis Ireland have gotten that right in terms of pitching it And obviously the most important thing for us is that, okay, tickets are sold, but the next step and most important step is people actually being there and getting down there and filling those seats and making noise. So yeah, that's the next step. So we don't, on our side and on probably the fan side, to rest on our laurels that we've done it all and the tickets are sold. People need to go.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the most important thing.
Definitely. And maybe just take a step back briefly, I guess, to look at how it is that the Irish team is in this position of this World Group 1 playoff, which is, as you've mentioned, really high level. Obviously, Austria, really, really strong team. I guess most directly that's thanks to a win against El Salvador last year. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about that tie, some of the matches that stood out, some of the players that stood out from the Irish team that weekend.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's sort of built from before that. It's obviously it's a relegation promotion format, Davis Cup. Yeah. So every year there's a knock-on effect. So this is going back to the guys going out to San Marino a number of years ago. I can't even remember if it was 2019, getting promoted there. Then we went to Cyprus, got a promotion out there, again coming down to a final match playoff, which then brought us to back to Group 2. We had that China match, which we obviously were I think we played our hand pretty well there in terms of being awarded a place through, even though we didn't have to play it. That could have kind of gone either way in terms of how that went. And then obviously beating Barbados away from home, who had King, who was just outside the top 100 in singles and was still playing at a really good level. To get that win was great. Obviously, Peru was our first time in a Group 1 playoff, which was a really tough assignment. And obviously, things didn't go great there, but we got great experience, which is going to help us for this tie in Austria. And then, obviously, as you mentioned, out in El Salvador, I don't think anybody probably put us as favourites there. But the guys have a great belief and really front up and get themselves in a really good place mentally and are willing to take on these guys and genuinely believe that they can beat anybody on their day. And it's got there's a nice mix there from your Conor Gannons, who's bringing the energy of playing his first few ties. And obviously he's really sharp from the college tennis environment all the way through to a guy like Dave O'Hare, who's been around the Pro Tour from a player, obviously working with the best doubles team pretty much in the world. Certainly the reigning US Open champions, Joe Salisbury and Rajiv Ram. So he's coming from a really high level every single week, which brings a great dynamic to the group as well. And then guys like Oscar Hushin, who is obviously out on the road playing full time, having to do an awful lot himself, maybe not getting enough support like a lot of tennis players, but then comes into the Davis Cup environment and I think excels, in terms of the support that he gets that week. And I don't want to leave anyone out, but it's obviously a wider group. Simon Carr, Michael Agby, Freddie Murray came in, made a great debut in El Salvador. So I think they all feed off each other. There's competition for places, which helps as well. They just feel like they can go and do some damage. And already Oscar Hushin in the media last week is talking about how he believes, and all that's really important, that he gets himself in that mindset, and it's just great to hear that those kind of interviews and that kind of attitude going into the tie for me as well as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess as you mentioned there, like a wide variety of names that have played over the last couple of years, which is good. Kind of there's depth there within the team, and maybe we might come back in a couple of minutes and touch on what kind of team to expect to be playing in February against Austria. But just before we do, kind of on a similar vein to what you were talking about there, I know that you've been the captain now for several years, and you're mentioning some of the more recent ties up in Group 2. But I guess could you maybe talk a little bit about the struggle of Group 3, which we've had to play several times in your years as captain, like how different that is as a Davis Cup experience to the Group 2 and Group 1 that we're in at the moment?
Yeah, they're easy to slip into and they're difficult to get out of, I would say, those Group 3 environments. They've got some, every country's always got at least one good player and potentially a great player like a Marcus Baghdadis. I've come up against a couple of times in Group Threes. It's really competitive, and as I say, even if you do have a successful week, you could just get pipped to promotion. Which happened a couple of times in my tenure in Estonia. As I say, we lost to a Cyprus team that had Marcus Baghdadis as their number one. They had a guy Petros, who I think was NCAA champion at Wake Forest in singles, as their number two. I think we lost in 3 sets in the deciding match in Estonia to go up. So we had a really positive week, whatever year that was, to 2017, but didn't get promoted. So I have to wait another whole year. That's 12 months.
Yeah.
You're still in the same group. You're not making any progress, and you have to go and do it all again. So, as I say, not easy. And obviously, with the ranking of our players, I suppose traditionally we would have had guys sort of certainly inside the top 300. Going back to your Owen Casey's and Scott Barron's, obviously through to myself and Luke Sorensen and James McGee and Kevin Sorensen, and Sam Barry was top 300. James Klusky was top 150 in doubles. So obviously the profile of our players at the moment, their rankings are significantly lower, but I think we're managing to use our resources in terms of the players we have pretty well. And as I say, guys who obviously aren't still playing full time, like a Dave O'Hare, is still able to keep himself sharp and come in and sort of do a job for us. So, not a place you want to be, Group 3 and Group 4, but happy to be where we are, and hopefully, wouldn't it be amazing to push through to Group 1 proper if we can get a win against Austria in a few weeks.
Absolutely. No, it's interesting to hear that. And you mentioned there Dave O'Hare and how, I guess, his experience that he has, I guess, from playing obviously Davis Cup for many years and now as a really high level coach on the doubles tour. I know he's kind of played a vice captain role for a few ties as well now. I guess what would you say that he's really added to that team, or what do you think he's brought along?
Well, for me, probably the most important thing is just his level on court is really, really high. And again, we had the 2-day training camp just before Christmas, which is the only real time we can all get together between guys, obviously in college in the States, and Dave on the road, etc. Oscar on the road on the tour. So we got together, and he was, in some ways, I thought he was even sharper than he was in El Salvador. So he's obviously with the best doubles team in the world, so he's obviously in on practices all the time, and is staying really sharp. So he's bringing a really, really good level in doubles, and obviously off court, really, really helps me out so much. He's a really good sounding board for me. Had Stephen Nugent with me in Barbados as well as an assistant coach. So to have and hopefully Stephen will be with me as well against Austria. So to be able to have, say, Stephen and Dave and myself, between the three of us, I think it's a really strong kind of team to support the guys. And obviously Dave does that dual role really, really well. So no, he's been great. Yeah, no, definitely big time. And just before we do come on to touch on the team a little bit, I guess just from your point of view as Davis Cup captain, what would be maybe something from your kind of experience of that, what would be something unexpected about the role that you might not have foreseen when you took it on, or just some kind of standout moments or parts of the job that you've had? It's you're exhausted at the end of the week. It's and I guess, and I'm assuming it's the same for everybody, but you never really switch off at all. There's constant. The way I try and look at the Davis Cup captaincy is trying to make the best out of every single situation you find yourself in through the whole week and in the lead up to it, because there's lots of little challenges, whether it's somebody's got carrying a niggle, or the transportation is a little bit late, or it's a long commute from the hotel to the courts every day. How do we best manage that for the guys? And I suppose deflecting a lot of those issues from the players and keeping it on the coaching staff, because I'm very conscious as a player how draining it is for the players in terms of lead up to the tie. There's a lot of energy spent thinking about it. There's a lot of, I suppose, almost socializing between the players. Like when you're on tour, you've got a lot more time to yourself. There's probably a lot more downtime. Whereas with the guys with Davis Cup, you're there's 7 or 8 of you on a bus going to the courts. There's chat, there's music going. It's a lot more, high energy and high octane than, say, a normal day on tour. And then you got your practice, which is a group practice. You've got a lunch together. You go back on the bus. You have another practice in the afternoon. You have dinner together. There's just a lot more sort of social energy, I suppose, that's spent. And for tennis players, we're not necessarily used to that. So it's managing all those things. So I think obviously the fact that I played, I think I probably have a pretty good handle on how to manage guys' energy levels, or certainly try to. So I'd say they're the kind of main things. But as I say, there's always something different with every week that you haven't expected and that you're going to have to deal with. And as I say, you're going to have to try and make the best out of that situation and try and somehow maybe not turn it to your advantage, but neutralize it, keep it away from the players and go forward. So that's sort of how I approach the week.
Yeah, no, great stuff. And I guess just to bring it back to this tie coming up in a few weeks, I guess Austrian team, we know what they might be looking like. I guess Dominic Thiem is obviously someone who could be there, a recent Grand Slam champion. Also, their number one is Offner, who's top 40. I know he's had a lot of strong results recently, so that's looking at a strong Austrian team. What might we expect from the Irish team? What players should be expected to come out?
Yeah, so I suppose from the Austrian team perspective, we're planning for them to obviously have their best team, which would be, as you say, Sebastian Offner, number one, who's obviously having a good start to the year. He made semis in Hong Kong. He beat Shapovalov yesterday in Auckland. I think he's 37 in the world now at a career high. Dominic Thiem, obviously everybody knows all about him, would be their number two because he's just inside the top 100. Then they've got 2 doubles players who are in around 30. We play together in around 35 in the world in doubles. And then they've got 3 guys who are between 100 and 160 who they can use and again, who have been brought in over the last couple of years. So, expecting a full-strength team. Obviously, if 1 or 2 of them aren't involved for whatever reason, so as we take that as a bonus. But I think however way you dice it, their top 5 are going to be really, really strong.
Yeah.
From our perspective, it'll be pretty much unless something drastic happens in terms of injury or whatnot over the next 2 weeks, it'll be pretty much the same team as would have been in Barbados. So again, also would have been the same team that was picked for the El Salvador tie. Michael Agui and Simon Carr both pulled out the weekend before we flew out to El Salvador. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but Simon and Michael's tickets were booked on the flight and for the Sunday, and on the Friday, Michael had to undergo some medical tests. He had some health problems at a tournament the week before, and Simon Carr also got injured, and we had to get him into tests that week, and he ended up having a fracture in his rib, and obviously couldn't travel. So we lost those 2 guys before. So it'll be looking like it's the Oscar Hoshin, Conor Gannon, Dave O'Hare, Simon Carr, and Michael Agui. In no particular order, because I obviously have a lot of thinking to do over the next few weeks in terms of who actually takes the court, because they're all going to obviously be buzzing for the tie. Yeah,
big time. I guess, as you say, great to see people like Simon Carr and Michael Agui able to, well, I guess fingers crossed, able to play this tie, especially Simon, who I know has been kind of out injured and not playing as much, I guess, pro tennis for the last year or so. So definitely will be great to see if he can get out playing and be back to the kind of Davis Cup environment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak for Simon, but obviously he's been managing some injuries. He had gone and played some club tennis matches in Germany just before the El Salvador tie, and was very unlucky in terms of he literally had a slip on a practice court and couldn't travel. So, but it's been managing a wider hip issue for the last little while, and it's great that he was involved in the 2-day training camp and came through well. So, I mean, I suppose a little bit like a Dave O'Hare, if you've got a tie coming up, even if you haven't necessarily been playing full tilt, you can get yourself up to a really good level and do a job for us over a weekend or a week, and your level won't have dipped all that much. And it's probably something we haven't done enough of over the years, is using guys sort of maybe automatically just picking guys who are on the tour or playing, as opposed to maybe just thinking of who are our 5 best players, and who gives us the best chance to win a tie. So I like to think we've picked the 5 strongest tennis players we can possibly pick, who are Irish right now, and give us the best chance to get a win.
Yeah, definitely sounds like that. Sounds like a really, really strong team, and looking forward to seeing who plays the matches and seeing how it all unfolds. I guess just we know the details. The February 3rd and 4th in the UL Sport Arena, Limerick. I know, as you say, tickets sold out. We were really looking to get everyone down, making a lot of noise. Any other kind of final words on the tie, Conor?
Yeah, look, obviously Limerick is my hometown. I can't take credit for UL being my idea. It didn't originate with me, and obviously Fitzwilliam is an incredible venue, but obviously there's only a certain amount of capacity, and yeah, the idea for UL came because we just could get double or even triple the amount of people in a purpose-built venue that's hosted a river dance and various things, so they can bring an element of that showcase, and also bringing it out to the regions, and Munster, as well, and maybe getting a little bit of extra media attention off the back of that as well. So loads of positives, and I say the tickets have sold out so far, and hopefully we can really put on a show. So I can't wait. Big thanks once again to Conor for his time with coming on this episode to chat all things Davis Cup. I definitely agree with Conor. I cannot wait for the tie either, and having that chat has got me even more in the Davis Cup mood. If you do have a ticket, make sure you come down, as Conor says, make some noise. It's going to be a great weekend. If you didn't manage to get a ticket, still follow along. There will hopefully be some sort of streaming, able to watch it live and get involved over the weekend. So it does promise to be a great few days for Irish tennis. Thanks again for listening to this episode. Share it around. Let's get everyone ready for the Davis Cup tie. Until next time, I've been Adam, and goodbye.